Newsfirst, face to face with Shalan Benedict.
Hello there, very good evening. Welcome to another edition of Face to Face. Today was a very controversial day in Parliament, of course, with the online safety bill being presented to Parliament. Now, a conglomerate of online service providers, of course, AIC, have indicated to the government that they will take stern action in the form of detaching themselves. This includes Google, Spotify, Twitter, or currently known as X. All of these platforms have issued a statement saying that they will take action in the form of detaching themselves from government institutions and other promotion programs in Sri Lanka if the online safety bill is passed in Parliament. But despite all of this opposition, not just local but global opposition as well, the online safety bill was taken up for debate in Parliament today. And of course, given the numbers in Parliament, there is quite a high probability that this will be passed in Parliament tomorrow, following which immediately Parliament will be prorogued. Now, to discuss these matters and much more, we've got with us today Mr. Niroshan Perera. He is a parliamentarian from the Samagi Janabala Vegia, of course, a man with insights who just joined us from Parliament after attending Parliament this morning. A very good evening, Mr. Perera, and welcome to the show.
Good evening.
So, starting off, Mr. Perera, now this controversial piece of legislation, we know that the SJP has been against this from the very inception of this bill. All opposition parties have been against this bill. There has been absolutely no consensus whatsoever in Parliament concerning this bill. Now, just walk us through what really happened today in Parliament. Now, the first reading of the bill was done. It was tabled in Parliament. Following which it has to be sent to the Sectoral Oversight Committee under Standing Order number 50. So this was sent to the Sectoral Oversight Committee. Now, usually when a bill or the report of the Sectoral Oversight Committee comes to you or comes to your hand, does it really happen in the morning of the day that the bill is supposed to be taken up for the second debate?
No, the MPs, they need to be given sufficient time to study what's the opinion of the committee. So, but I think there was a delay and they just gave their recommendation, which was very short. So I think we are expecting...
But when you say very short,
yes.
How short is it?
No, I think this is a very important, crucial legislation that needs to be looked at very carefully, because this can be used by the government to suppress the opposition. And this is of course, we are expecting a national election this year. So with that in mind, and with all the things that has been happening in this country, I think it's very crucial that people are very informed about the political landscape in this country. So this bill can have a very big impact on that. And of course, there are a lot of international companies which provide the platform for online usage to Sri Lanka. So they are also concerned. They have sent some letters to the government pointing some of the flaws in this bill, and it will be very difficult for them to implement some of the clauses in that bill.
Right.
So I think the government...
So when you say implement clauses in the bill now, there are platforms, say for example WhatsApp, that offer end-to-end encrypted calling. Basically, even WhatsApp, the organization that provides the platform or the service, does not know what you are saying when you take a call off WhatsApp or when you send messages of WhatsApp. It's end-to-end encrypted. So under this bill, of course, to enforce the provisions of this bill, for this commission appointed by the president to see, look at and judge whether the text messages that you've sent to your personal friends, personal messages that you've sent to your friends, family, or maybe someone else off WhatsApp, or the calls that you are having off WhatsApp or any other platform, for them to listen and to judge whether they are false statements or true statements, statements that support the government or statements that are against the government. These end-to-end encryption mechanisms will have to be taken off. So you're saying that even if the government does pass this, companies like WhatsApp, Meta for that matter, would say, no, we are not going to do that. Is that possible?
Yes, because I think the technology is general, it's not very specific to Sri Lanka. They can't change the technology just to suit Sri Lanka. They're not going to do that. So if they're forced to do it, then they will pull out of Sri Lanka.
Okay.
So I think it's very important that the government has to study how these platforms are implemented, So it's that technology has to be studied, and what the government can regulate and what the government can't regulate should be taken into account before drafting bills. So I think the government has gone and has broadly defined what is hate speech and all that. So I think that's a problem. So tomorrow they're supposed to bring in some amendments during the committee stage. So we don't know what
those amendments are as well.
Yeah. So we'll do the debate tomorrow and see what kind of amendments they are going to move tomorrow. But I don't think they're not going to change much regarding their intention. We believe that although they are saying that they are going to protect women and children and of course enhance online safety, but we feel as SJB there's an ulterior motive on the part of the government to suppress information coming to the people of Sri Lanka, because I think there's been some concern inside the government regarding their numbers at the ground level, and if they can even win an election. So I think all these are coming together with the anti-terrorism bill and other bills which are coming.
So, but what really is, using your political acumen, of course, you've been in politics for quite some time, you are now a parliamentarian from the SJB, you are the Foreign Legal Secretary as far as the SJB group is concerned. So what really is the intention of the government? Is their plan to suppress the people and somehow get their vote? Because what you said right now was that they are unsure of their numbers at the grassroots level. So what's the end game here?
Yeah, I think now they have been forced to hold the election this year, so 2024.
So they're not happy about it?
They're not happy about it because they can see the numbers, so the numbers are not adding up. And the information coming to the people, it's not favorable to the government. So I think you need some sort of control in this country. From there, they are trying to somehow either hold elections and get the result they want, or maybe postpone elections.
Postpone elections again?
Yes.
Do you think that's an option that is on the cards for the government?
We believe they are looking at postponing elections.
They are still looking at postponing elections. How do you suppose they postpone elections?
We are not sure how they are going to do it, but we know that the local government elections, they brought up this, they don't have any money. So I don't know what kind of a scenario they are going to create, but that's one possibility. We are not going to say that it's going to definitely happen, but it's one scenario that we are getting ready for. But of course, the more probable is we'll face a presidential election. Yes,
presidential election first.
Yeah.
So moving forward now, we need to look at history and how things have panned out in Sri Lanka, because the failures of our past are lessons for a better future. Now, let's take, for example, since we were talking about the online safety bill, let's take controversial pieces of legislation. One of the most controversial pieces of legislation that Sri Lanka has had since independence is the Prevention of Terrorism Act. And mind you, this act was brought in as a temporary provisions act, and it's still there about 30 years later. Successive governments who have come into power have pledged and promised that the moment they come into power, they will repeal the Prevention of Terrorism Act. But no government has done it to this date. Now, I understand that the SJB is vehemently against the online safety bill. Once it's passed into law, the Online Safety Act. But what kind of guarantee do we have that come one day, if the SJB establishes a government at an election, that this piece of legislation will be withdrawn? Because the way you painted it, this is of course highly beneficial and highly advantageous to whichever political party is in government.
So I think if you want to take Sri Lanka forward, you have to understand the international norms. You have to have some guidelines where you comply with international obligations. So I think it's very important, even the online safety, or if it's anti-terrorism or any other bill, that we agree with some of the standards set by the international community. That way we will be accepted more by the international community, and of course in terms of tourism or investments and all the other activities that we are expecting from international players, we can easily get them if we are compliant with this.
Now, AIC has also released a statement saying that this will significantly impact foreign direct investment into Sri Lanka's digital economy. Now, the president himself was saying that he's looking at developing digital economy in Sri Lanka. He's looking into AI technology, green technology as well. So if this really is the policy or the vision of the president, why do you think this piece of legislation is brought amidst broad opposition, not only from here at home but also from overseas? It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it makes sense to the government because they are, if you look at the numbers, the polling numbers, they are far behind of the opposition. So I think they need to somehow get through this election cycle and get a fresh mandate for 5 years. So I think for that, they need to do certain things to control the information flowing to the people. So I think that's what they're doing. But I think there's going to be a backlash on the investments as well as tourism. You know, a lot of the tourists who are going to visit Sri Lanka, they're going to find out they might not have Facebook or WhatsApp or any other platform that they have been using in their country, and that's not going to sit too well with the tourists. So that message will also go to our international markets, and I think that will be a disadvantage to Sri Lanka. But I think for government, since they're trying to get power for 5 years, I think they are willing to ride this out.
They're willing to write this out.
Yeah.
So has the SJB, has the members of the opposition really raised these concerns with the government? Like, since the general public really doesn't know what happens behind closed doors at these sectoral oversight committee meetings and in Parliament, in other committee meetings in general, what really has been the essence of the discussion? Because one thing that we expect from a Parliament is to discuss, deliberate, and formulate laws for the benefit of the country. So how have the discussions been? Has the government been receptive of your ideas, your criticisms, or have they just outright disregarded it?
So this morning, almost all the opposition parties raised objections, and we wanted more time to study this bill, and we wanted them to, actually there are so many amendments that they should bring a new bill, because the fundamental nature of the bill presented has changed now.
Yes.
So we wanted that. So there was a party leaders discussion in the morning. There was no agreement. There was agreement saying that a vote should be taken in Parliament to decide whether the debate should go forward or not. So there was a vote in the morning. We opposed it, but the government had the numbers, so they have passed it. So the debate will go on today and tomorrow. Tomorrow there will be a committee stage, and then committee stage, of course, they will present some amendments. With that, there will be another vote in the evening.
So, Mr. Perera, according to your understanding of this bill and what's happening in Parliament, how many parliamentarians do you think would just raise their hand for the sake of doing it?
The problem in Sri Lanka is, we have the whip system in Sri Lanka. So every party will issue a 3-line whip and tell the parliamentarians how they should vote.
Okay.
So if you go against the whip system, you could be under disciplinary action from the party and you could be expelled. So that's how the Sri Lankan system is set up.
Okay.
So broadly, members vote with the party. You take a collective decision at the parliamentary group, and with that you vote broadly within the parties. The parties can, of course, change their positions, but broadly the members are sticking to.
So what about the members of the SLPP who became independent?
Yes,
there are quite a few.
Yes.
So the whip doesn't apply to them.
Right now we have seen that the SLPP is not going after them with disciplinary action.
Okay.
And some of the parties which were in alliance with the SLPP, they have their own set of guidelines.
Okay.
Yeah. So broad.
But in essence,
Yeah.
if the SLPP really wanted it,
Yes.
they could go after them.
They could go after
They
that.
could even take away their seat.
Yes, they can go to the courts and they can file a case against the MP, and of course they can take away his seat.
So, but if these parliamentarians who entered parliament on the SLPP ticket, and there has been absolutely no change in the leadership of the SLPP, the leader is still former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, their chief organizer is Basil Rajapaksa. There has been absolutely no change at the helm of the SLPP. So, why do you reckon that the SLPP is, not really going after these members of parliament who've technically, or at least in the eyes of the people, completely gone against them to a point where it almost feels as if they've betrayed them?
So I'm not sure exactly what their thinking is, but we believe that they might be thinking that these members can be brought back into some sort of alliance during especially a presidential election.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that hope is still there with them. They don't want to expel these members, because people who might come in might also not agree with what's happening.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm speculating on this, so I can't really tell what the thinking of the SLPP leadership is. But yeah.
So, Mr. Perera, let's speak about the SJB now. You could probably say a little bit more of the thinking of the SJB rather than the thinking of the SLPP. Now, the SJB is inviting over former parliamentarians, other politicians from many parties, a bulk of which, at least those who have crossed over now, are coming from the SLPP and factions aligned with the SLPP. Now, the SJB directly place the blame on the SLPP, their failed policies, the leadership that they provided to Sri Lanka in reaching this economic crisis that we're in now. So when the SJB is seen forming alliances with prominent individuals, mind you, prominent individuals of the SLPP, don't you think that sends a bit of a negative message to the general public? Because there is this notion among the general public, if I may say this in the original language, in Sinhala, unuttekai, munuttekai.
Yes, there's a lot of discussion inside the SJB regarding this. There's different kind of opinion on whether to take members of the SLPP or SLFP or any other alliance. So the fundamental discussion there was that we need to get some of the votes which were not there during 2019.
Right.
So with that, we said there should be some guidelines regarding corruption or maybe regarding hate speech, that any individual aligned to those allegations should not be taken in. So I think we have given the power to our leader, Honorable Sajith Premadasa, to thoroughly go through these candidates and of course and make a decision on whether to take them or not.
So moving forward, of course, during the time of an election, there is a lot of mudslung left, right and centre, and then a lot of criticism being thrown around, some of those even going a little bit under the belt. But this is the first time that I'm sitting down with you for a discussion. And so far, my understanding is that you're a very reasonable person. So I'm going to pose this question to you and just pick your mind on this. The JVP, for the first time in quite a number of years, has come out as a formidable opponent because, of course, of the status of the country and people being frustrated with those who have governed Sri Lanka or been in a seat of power in Sri Lanka, at least in the past few decades. So with the JVP coming into the fore, now we can see that the JVP and the SJB, both opposition parties, are berating each other and berating each other's policies. Now I know that you're a parliamentarian from the SJB, but how do you see this fight panning out in the future?
Well, I think what has happened is we are trying to present two different policies. So
are they really two different policies?
Yes, I think if you take the economic policy, I think it's very different what the SJB is saying from the NPP. So I think for me personally, I wouldn't go after any personal attacks
Individually.
against individuals.
Understood.
Yeah, but I think Sri Lankan citizens or voters need to understand what is the fundamental difference between these two opposition parties. I think it's very crucial that we have a very good discussion about this, because in 2019 also we saw when Gotabaya Rajapaksa was contesting that some people blindly believe that actually he could do a very good job as the president.
I think that's a qualified statement. Not some people.
Yes.
Most people. 6.9 million to be exact.
People, yes. So that was a crucial mistake that I think some of the voters, if you take some of the voters, they didn't actually go deep into what kind of a character the former president was. Even some of the members of parliament who were elected from his party, they also didn't know that he could damage Sri Lanka this much. So the damage has been done. So we don't want a repeat of what happened in 2019. I don't think Sri Lanka can afford that. The economy obviously can't handle that kind of damage again. And the people of this country will suffer if there's a repeat of what has happened in 2019. So we believe that, of course, the president is at one extreme, and then, of course, the NPP and other parties, some of the other parties are on the other extreme. So we are a middle center party, SJB. We like to handle the international community, get their support, and get our foreign debt restructuring implemented. And of course, we have a very good vision regarding how to handle the economy. We have presented the blueprint. We have a very good team, Dr. Haisha, Kabir.
But Mr. Perera, if I may just interrupt you right there. Now, I understand that it's important to have a comprehensive policy document, but I need not remind you that we had the vistas of prosperity and splendor, a comprehensive policy document that also came in a digital form. There were projections that were created to put forward this policy. That's how advanced at least the presentation of that policy was. Now, I believe the blueprint of the SJB is in the form of a document, and quite a detailed document. So just speaking from the perspective of a member of the general public, I don't really believe that people read these documents as much as one would prefer them or one would want them to read. So even in my position, I'm still unsure as to what the principal difference between the economic policies or the economic way forward, if you may, of the JJB and the SJB. So could you clarify that for me? At least a few principal differences. Where does it really change?
Yeah, in terms of our economy, SJB, we believe that it should be led by the export related growth. So I think
the JJB doesn't.
Well, I think they are more into a government-controlled economy. As far as SJB is concerned, I think we should open that up to a private sector.
Probably, so I think it'll be in the best interest of everyone in the general public. Usually, when I think this service is available online as well. If you need to select between two phones, I know this website where you add in the names of the two phones, and then they will compare the statistics. So, has the SJB looked at maybe comparing this, because this difference is crucial, and it's important that the general public have all the information before they make an informed decision, and how this information is presented really, that's a problem as well, because given the current economic situation and the lifestyles of the general public, I don't really believe that anyone would really have the time to sit down and read this big document that is called a blueprint.
Yes. So I think what the easiest one is that, of course, what we have as economic models is not what we had about 30 or 40 years ago. So the world has changed. Technology has changed. So I think almost all the countries are going on somewhat of a similar path as far as economic models go. Only like if you take North Korea or Cuba, so they have kind of a centralized structure to control the economy. So what we are saying is we should actually integrate our economy with the international world economy. To do that, we need to make this economy very efficient.
Okay.
If you don't make it efficient, we can't compete with the international market. We can't compete with international other countries. We can't attract investment. And also one of our slogans is actually introducing digital technology into the government sector as well as the economy. And so we have a very good team which has done this before. They have experience. And I think all the countries, as the Foreign Affairs Secretary of SJB, I'm involved in coordinating with all the other countries. So a lot of the countries have very high hopes that SJB will come to power, and they want to work with us.
Okay. One final question before we leave. It might be a little bit of an out-of-body experience for you and other members of the SJB to be this critical and to stand on opposing sides with your former leader, who is the current president. Of course, there are statements being made. There are indications that the current president and his party are also looking for familiar faces, maybe to join their party. Is there any discussion within the SJB, at least, to maybe have some sort of a consensus between your former leader? Because as the leader of your party for the past 30 to 40 years, maybe his policies still align with yours.
Actually, our leader, Honorable Sajith Premadasa, in Parliament, he has clearly said that we are not going to be aligned.
We're not going?
Yes.
Is that the sentiment that all other SJB members also hold?
Yeah, because I think although some of our other competing parties, they try to portray that our policies and policies of the UNP
are the same.
It's not actually, because I think if you look at the current scenario, so what we have been advocating is we need to have income generation in this country. So the government is not focused on that. So the government is going after ordinary people. They're increasing the taxes on ordinary people, and that's creating a backlash from the people. So we want to focus on income generation. That's an export oriented economy. As you can see, this last year, actually Sri Lanka's exports have gone down by around 10%. So I think we need to reverse that. And of course, if you take the electricity or any other services provided in this country, essential services, the burden has been going up and the cost of production has been going up. So we have been not competing well with other countries.
Yes.
So we need to change all that. So I think the current government is just focused on taxing people or increasing the prices. So that's not going to be a very long-term solution. We believe that we need to have a different approach. Of course, we need to talk to the IMF again and have some changes to the agreement, and of course, and move forward and work hard and bring this country back up.
Thank you very much, Mr. Perera. That's all the time we have today on Face to Face. Of course, once again, it's very important that the general public, of course, be informed of these different policies, these different ways forward that various parties are now proposing, because we've seen the consequences of voting based on your feelings, voting based on the tide, and this really is not the time to do that. While the general public needs to be informed, of course, it's incumbent on political parties, of course, to create awareness among the general public, and I hope and pray, of course, that the SJB, along with the other political parties, will create this awareness among the general public to put forward their policies and their way forward, and work towards, of course, ensuring public support for that policy. Thank you very much to our general public for viewing Face to Face. We'll see you again, same time, same place tomorrow. Until then, take care and God bless.